there are a lot of people out there that are concerned about what's going on with the University of Georgia right now. Do not count me among them. This is not something that should be unexpected if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan in any way. There's been news about potential flips, both to Georgia and away. There has been big news in the transfer portal about who's choosing to stay and who's choosing to go. Unless you're brand new here, you know that my position hasn't changed. I have absolute faith in Kirby Smart and his staff to handle the roster management at the University of Georgia right now. I do not envy their job. It makes me really not think twice about my chosen profession, because it doesn't matter how much these people are getting paid to manage this kind of stuff. It is insanity, especially, which most of them don't, if you are paying attention to anything outside of what's happening inside the building and the conversations you're having with people who are actually in the know and who know what's going on. If you listen to anything outside of that, it becomes almost unbearable. I've seen people who are threatening to cancel subscriptions to the Georgia Pay sites this week simply because they cannot handle all the craziness that comes from Dog Nation. So I know that there's a lot of people out there that are really feeling a little edgy this week. All I'm going to say to you is fear not. The thing about where Georgia is right now is that Georgia and Dog Nation are in rarefied air, and we are there because of head coach Kirby Smart. When you have success the way Kirby's had success in Athens since coming back, it doesn't get rid of your problems. It just brings an entirely new basket of problems. Problems that 98% of college football do not have to mess with at all because they're not in that rarefied air. These problems that Kirby Smart and the staff are having to deal with right now, and by problems, I mean you go 12-0, you lose one game, and all of a sudden people are freaking out. You have one or two players, names that you recognize, jump into the transfer portal, and people start to lose their minds. You have a high school kid decide he might want to go play somewhere else and decommit from the program, and people think the sky is falling. None of these things are true. It very well could be that all of these things that you're seeing are merely a sign, maybe even a result of the process that Kirby Smart and his staff have implemented at the University of Georgia. They've established a process that makes Georgia great. It makes Georgia different. And not everybody is cut out to be a part of that process. When you win as much as Georgia wins, some of these moves are simply because so many people saw Georgia winning on the upslope and decided they wanted to be a part of it. Came to Athens for a year or two. For whatever reason, maybe they're not seeing the field the way they wanted to. They're still extremely talented football players. And if they see the writing on the wall, or they are maybe informed by the coaching staff that they might have a better opportunity somewhere else, these players then may decide to leave and try their game somewhere else to have more of an opportunity. So it's not that the guys that are choosing to leave are villains or awful players or anything like that. But when there's so many good players, and you literally, as Nolan Smith and Keely Ringo and all those people have tried to tell the fan base, you're literally fighting for your job every day. Maybe they're just like, man, I'm good, but I'm not that good, and I want to go play somewhere else. It happens. It's football. It's part of it in Athens, Georgia right now. It's not that way everywhere. Kirby Smart, during his time in Athens, has taken Georgia football and won like it has never won before. They have made it look easy. Now, Kirby will tell you it is not. He tells us all the time it is not. For those of us who have been around Georgia football longer than 10 years, we can verify that for you. It is not easy to win, especially not in the SEC. But when you're great at something, when you have a great program, you make it look easy. And that's not fair to the coaches necessarily. It's not fair to the players. But it is the reality for most college football fans because they look at the things like what Vegas thinks and things like that to say this should be an easy game, should be a win, should be this or that. I mean, that's one data point, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be a walkover game. That's just simply not how the game works. And Kirby tries to remind us of that, but nobody wants to believe it. Doesn't change the fact, though. And regarding the transfer portal in particular, think about it this way. If you're not losing players to the portal, then odds are you're probably not winning the way Georgia is. Think about that for a second. Those teams that are not losing players at the rate Georgia's losing players, or Alabama might be losing players, or pick another school that's been very, very successful, Ohio State. Those teams are not like those other teams. Teams that are not losing players are in search of players because they want to get better. Your team, the Bulldogs, are probably beating those teams most days because they have better players. It's just the reality of it. So I know it can be a little crazy and send you a little sideways and make you clutch your pearls, the red and black pearls, and worry about Georgia. But it has made my life exceedingly less stressful once I decided to understand and just give myself over to the idea that Kirby's got it under control.
Told him, how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told him.